This is the Domain Magnet Show, where you'll learn everything you need to know about buying, optimizing, and selling online businesses with your host, Micheal Bereslavsky.
Hello, dear listeners. Today we have a special guest, and he's going to share his story with buying, managing, and selling businesses. And he has a really interesting and unique approach to how he looks at deals. So I'm excited to speak today with Nate Ginsburg. Hi, Nate.
And Michael, thanks for having me.
And this is the first time we are doing a podcast in person. So thanks for joining today.
Yeah, glad it worked out with both of us here in Chiang Mai, Thailand.
Yeah, I know your first business was a big e-commerce site. So tell us a bit about that. How did you get started and how did you later sell it?
Yeah, so my story, I first got into e-commerce, selling mostly on Amazon. This was in 2014, I think, the end of 2014. That was the first business that I had that really got some, more than a little bit of traction. And I remember like the second half of the first year that I was selling, and sales like doubled consecutively every month, like up to the holidays, and when we finished with like over $100,000 a month in sales, and I was really excited about this. And so the business was going really well. I mean, it was growing, our revenue numbers were good, but I, as many of your listeners probably know, e-commerce businesses are quite expensive to run, and the business was ramping up and our sales were growing, but most of that was going back into the business, and like my personal bank account wasn't really growing the way that I thought or wanted it to be. And it was around this time that I was, just kind of, in touch or keeping in touch with a good friend of mine, Travis, who had, I guess recently around that time, had a pretty big exit selling his software business. And he was looking to get involved in some other businesses, and I was open to help and, also looking to put some cash in my pocket. And so it worked out that I took on an investor, selling him a little bit less than half of my business. And so, my first experience, buying and selling or partnering or investing was being invested in. And fast forward a couple of years, we had the opportunity and sold that business, which was overall a good outcome. And then, after that, it kind of got me thinking about all these different existential questions. What do I want to do and what am I good at? And and I kind of had this experience from myself personally, an overall very positive experience, working with, taking on an investor / partner. So I'm like, now I've got some more cash, I have a little bit more, the story and kind of credibility to, my journey. So let's see if I can't explore some opportunities, like that. And, fast forward, have found a couple of those deals. We'll, talk more about that as well as, kept my team that was supporting my business and now helping others to achieve exits with their business.
That's pretty cool. So let's dial back a little bit. That first deal with Travis, so he was a little bit less than half of the business. How did you structure the transaction? How did you first decide the value of the business that he would invest on? And what was like the structure of what would he do? Would he be a basic investor or would he be involved in the business?
Yeah, so good questions. Admittedly, some of these things we thought about at the time. Other things Travis and I have both learned as we both go on to do, subsequent deals after that. This was, my first, and Travis, early in his, he's done a lot of deals now. And looking back, we did some stuff right. We learned some things, but at the core of our investment partnership was really a mutual, trust and friendship, and really understanding that we both wanted this to work out. And so, this deal would not have happened if it wasn't for our personal relationship. And so a lot of the things were pretty, we were kind of just figuring it out as we went. I had, fortunately, on my team, I had a woman who's still with me now who handles our finances. And so we had a decent idea of what our numbers look like, as the first place for evaluation. And then...
So how did you decide the value first? Was it based on the multiple of your sales or your profits?
Yeah, if I remember right, it was roughly at like a 2x. And also at this time, Travis was the one who was really leading this, negotiation or conversation. And I think basically, I showed him what our numbers were and I think he just kind of made an offer. And, I didn't really know, I didn't have much basis for comparison. I knew that he wasn't trying, he wasn't trying to rip me off. He wasn't trying to give my belief at the time, and remains that was looking for something, more or less fair. And so yeah, I think it was at roughly a 2x, plus then some money for the value of inventory. And so some of the things that we did well from that one, or kind of looking back, was again the foundation of mutual trust and respect, and that I wasn't trying to hide something in the business that he was going to get screwed over, and he wasn't trying to pull something on me, and that we were and remain friends, and so both wanting it to work out. Something that we didn't account for that I've since learned, although made the mistake again in the next deal that I did, was one thing was not accounting for a salary for the owner, or the person that was running it, in this case, me, which, the person who's running the business should be getting a salary. That's I think also for, tax, based off of tax reasons as well, the person that's running the business, they should get a fair market salary. And, when we went through it, there wasn't a salary that was for me as the person that remained to run it. We valued the business without taking into consideration a salary. And, later, fast forward, the business was going well, and I ended up getting a salary. But yeah, that, one lesson that should have been included in the original discussion, that, now I know that that's important.
Yeah, I think it's always like that. I remember my first deals, I just agreed on price and that's it, and we went forward. But then later we realized there are so many things we should have discussed and put in writing. And I think that's a process that happens from one deal to the next. You learn what all these details that you have to pay attention to, that you have to really have some clarity. But as long as there is a foundation of trust, that's the main thing. Yeah. Trust is really important for me.
Yeah, and I can say, for the, so after that deal being invested in, and then after selling my business, I've now invested or bought in 4 other businesses. 3 of them in a kind of similar dynamic where I was, partnering with, someone that I knew personally. And, with those, all of those deals, we've definitely learned some things, and things are, generally structured better. There have been lessons and things that we've improved on, but all of them, it's still at its core is this foundation of, trust. And also just I know Travis wanted with me and what I want with these other businesses, genuinely, I want us both to win. I want to get a good outcome, but not at the expense of, also when you're investing in versus buying, you're partners. It's not me, us versus them, or me versus you. And so, in order for it to be, long term, it has to be working out for us both. And if it's not, I think that needs to be addressed. So it doesn't derail the whole business.
So back to that, so Travis invested, and what was the commitment to you to, would he be involved? Would he help you with something? So just
So this was something that we could have and should have probably had more discussion and clarity around at the time. And, it was a little bit ambiguous. And we were just kind of talking, this kind of happened over the course of I don't know, a handful of weeks or a month or something. We were both living in Vietnam, and, we kind of just like discuss things every couple of days and, discuss this, and I'd come back with this and that. And so, but we never really, like, that deal was done, overwhelmingly on a handshake. And like, I think there was like a loose kind of term agreement, but it was, okay, like, do you agree? Yep. Like, okay, here's my bank info. Like, all right, awesome.
That's perfect.
Well, I mean, it's worked out. But yeah, like some of those, so like your question specifically around, Travis's involvement, it wasn't really, like, I realized after the fact, actually, there was a little bit of, like we weren't exactly on the same page. And, I realized that there were certain things that I kind of thought that, getting someone involved as a partner, like this was going to be like someone where, I was thinking about this business and excited about it every day, and we're chatting back and forth and And I mean, through a combination of things, like just knowing, just kind of who Travis is as a person and like what his kind of tendencies are. And also just realizing like this was my big thing. This was like a thing, for him. And yeah, I mean, it was something, again, it wasn't really explicitly discussed. It was like, so I retained majority ownership and, decision-making. So it was still my business. The decisions were still, up to me. But yeah, we didn't really, I guess, get clear or discuss what Travis's role looked like.
That's very common with those deals. We see that every time at MMA. So often I hear those stories every single time that the people go buy a business or they go partner, and then they just figure things out, and then they realize that there are so many different things that they should have discussed. And so if you could change just one thing in that, would that be just getting some more clarity?
Well, I can say, it all like worked out fine in our instance, and I fairly quickly just accepted or came to accept what the situation was, which was also fine. It wasn't like he was like, all right, see ya. It was just there was some, I guess, I thought maybe he was going to be a little more involved, and he thought a little less, and it ended up just kind of working itself out. But that's something that now, in subsequent deals, it's been much, like now I'm much more clear about what my role is and what it isn't. And so, have learned to, explicitly address these things and be like, all right, look, like this is what I'm willing to do for me personally. The deals that, again, I've, gotten invested in or partnered with, like we'll do, calls every week or two. I want to be involved with like high level strategy, quarterly planning, always trying to like make useful introductions and biz dev and connections and partnerships. And, that's all like stuff that I am, not just willing, but like I want to contribute in those ways. Also, I've been able to leverage some of my team to also add value. So some things we'll do is help with like hiring some roles, some like SOP process type stuff that like I know my team, has the capabilities, as well as finance services. So some more of the like back office foundational things that I know that I've got the team that can do. And so like those are things that I am willing to help with. And, in deals since then, I've learned to be really explicit about them and like listing out. And most of these deals that I've done are, it starts with a term sheet. and listing out those things of like, okay, this is what I'm bringing and this is what I'm expecting, and for them as well. And so yeah, have learned to address these things more as opposed to just trying to figure it out as we go.
Yeah, this is a good point. So this is something we do as well. There are some deals we do that the seller or the owner stays on, and some deals where we partner to continue growing it. And we always make sure that we have a lot of clarity about obligations, about responsibilities. So we would generally look at all the different pieces of the deal, of the puzzle, like managing, operating, growing, marketing. And we would typically decide from our perspective how much time, how much effort I was spending for different departments within the company, or for example myself, some other managers. We have very explicit number of hours, calls, time, as well as resources, and we would also write down some obligation of the other party, of the previous owner and their team, like what they very explicitly, like for example, on this recent deal it was a bit smaller. We had the owner stay on, and she's supposed to continue receiving half of the revenue. And for that, she's going to keep managing it, but not full force like she was before, but she's going to direct, for example, the social media updates will be done by our team, but she will direct it, she will give them very detailed instructions, she will do it every day, and she will write some content, but not all of it, and she will regularly teach our team how to manage the business in the right way. And we make sure that the incentives are aligned, because I found that the most important thing in this kind of longer term deals to make sure that there is that the incentives are really aligned, because a lot of the time what happens, like just as an example, let's take a broker. So a typical broker, they get a commission when the deal is closed. So the broker's incentive is just to close the deal. The incentive is not to try to get a good deal for the buyer or for the seller. They just want to close it. And if the deal is that the seller just sells their business, and sometimes there are some extra aspects of it. For example, they might get paid based on revenue, they might get paid based on time that they include after, and that always changes their priorities. So for example, we've done in the past some deals that people would have some time obligation, like they would have to spend at least an hour, a couple hours a week working on the business. So they found that that's not the best criteria, because people might just do something, but not the things that are very useful. And we've also done deals where people will get a share of the revenue, and on its own, it's also problematic because then they don't have to do much, so they might just try to do the minimum and still get the revenue. So we try to do deals now that can combine a few different aspects of it, and there are like a long-term structure of how we manage that to make sure that people are incentivized to go and still work on the business, and they get some equity or some profit share, and that they still can contribute time, but not a ton of time. And I feel that is the biggest challenge with doing a deal like that, the deals like you do with partnerships. It is the biggest challenge to really structure it in such a way that those motivations are well aligned.
Yeah, I mean, I think aligning incentives and incentives in general are really challenging. I mean, they're really challenging to get totally right. And you know, that's what, like, I guess all the deals that I've been a part of in terms of partnerships, like, at the core, it was this foundation of, trust and people that were, friends personally. And yeah, they, like, we've changed different deal terms after the fact that, we of course both agreed on, but, ones that even as an investor, like, there was one that we didn't, actually two of them, well, different situations, but we didn't include, there wasn't a salary included like we were talking about before, and then, later, like, thinking that it was just like, the business was going well, So I was like, okay, sure, you should have a salary. And like, that was actually worse for my, ROI, just looking at a cash basis, but like also probably in the best interest of the business long-term as a whole. And so, continuing to have conversations, and we have an agreement, but also revisiting if necessary. And because getting the correct incentives is really hard.
What I found is there has to be a structure. You cannot always discuss everything. You cannot have everything right, not have every single scenario, but there has to be a structure that makes sure that the incentives are aligned with what's best for business. That ultimately what your criteria is what's going to help the business in the long term, what's going to help it grow, or if the goal is to resell it, what's going to help you accomplish that goal. And that really helps make sure that you're not prioritizing short-term returns by just investing a little bit more or a little bit less versus the long-term profits. So let's jump a little bit. So you partnered with Travis, and then you sold the business. And so how long after the partnership did you sell it, and what did you do right after sale?
It was, sometime in the next,
like a year?
Yeah, year and a half. So it's relatively quickly. And after that was definitely a period of trying to figure out, what I wanted to do and what I could do. It was kind of two things. So one of them, I thought that I wanted to get involved also as an investor. But then also I ended up, through the deal, I kept my team and started providing services with my team that, I thought like that was, an asset that I had that knew how to run my business. And I'm the kind of person that I err on the side of delegating. And I love hiring, I love team building. And so I had built a great team that was taking care of many of those aspects of my business that I didn't want to do personally. It's like, oh, well, maybe some other people would also want, benefit from these services. And so it kind of has gone down, two paths. One of them as, looking to in the future continue to grow my, the businesses that I'm partnering in that portfolio, as well as now with my team, offering services to help other people have a smooth exit, sell their business, easier, faster, and like really optimize so that they can have, achieve similar outcomes that I was able to achieve also.
So how did you sell that business, first of all? What was it, like $1 million approximately in that range?
Yes.
Did you use a broker?
So the sale was, I'd say, not traditional, although I don't know if anything is traditional. But basically it was the same buyer that had bought some businesses from Travis.
Okay.
And we were basically, I was in Vietnam and, was on the phone catching up with Travis, and he just sort of mentioned that, this guy might be interested in buying the business, and, what did I think? And, long story short, 3 days later, I was on a plane to, the buyer was a big Chinese company. 3 days later, on a plane to China, meeting with this guy to make a deal. And so, it all, it happened, very quickly, and again, really fortunate that I had the team and infrastructure in place, especially when it came to the finances, that when I was, all of a sudden had these, acquisition, conversations and opportunities, like I had a lot of the, necessary information, just like, accurate P&Ls and books and, keeping good records of our invoices and this and that. And like, to be able to then, when I had this opportunity, be able to, give the buyer what he needed. And so that's one thing I really, credit. And, one of the first times, realizing the importance of like some of these pieces, like this was my first real business. So, like I don't have an MBA. I was like, really learning as I went. And thankfully had some great people on my team that got us on top of things that, we needed to be on top of that then, when we had the opportunity allowed us to, take advantage and fast forward. I mean, there was, the whole thing was probably like, relatively short, maybe like less than a 2-month process. It all proceeded relatively smoothly.
Nice. So that's a pretty good deal. So you didn't have to pay a broker. You were able to save like 15%, and you had Travis help with the deal.
Well, the buyer, we kind of got like a 10% discount, and we kind of factored in what would have been a broker fee.
Okay.
And this was also like, this was, a couple of years ago, and the buyer was really the one who was leading the conversation. That business, they bought a bunch of businesses, and so, I was basically there just trying not to screw it up. And I almost did screw it up, but ended up, it ended up moving forward. But yeah, I didn't really know what I was doing, and I wasn't pretending to know what I was doing. I was there, like, if the offer seemed reasonable, that worked for me. It wasn't about, like, maximizing every single dollar. Well, looking back also, it's very well that there probably was money left on the table because we didn't, we weren't planning for this. We weren't, now I've learned there's a variety of things you can do to like, optimize your business value and your net income and to get the higher thing. But
yeah,
again, ours was, I guess, the flip side of that is it happened very quickly, and so was willing to, accept what they are. And it was, I still think it was a fair deal. So yeah, the buyer did kind of get a discount of what the broker fees would have been. I got a quick deal, and all being said, went pretty smoothly.
Yeah, that makes sense. So they made it convenient for you, they made it comfortable, they let the process, and they were experienced. So you didn't have to go and do calls with 10 other buyers and send everyone PNL and wait for a year. So it was a quick process.
Yeah,
so it makes sense to give them a small discount.
Right.
It's reasonable.
Yeah, totally. And stuff that I've, have learned now from, looking at, say, Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway as the really high-level example is, realizing that when you're making deals, like, and stuff that I've learned, it's really a deal between two people. It's a person-to-person thing. And there are, a lot of different ways to factor in certain opinions or norms of how things are done, but at the end of the day, like, it's, me and you, and like, do we have an agreement? Are we happy? And I think that's what, that's at the core of what moves the deal forward. And if you're able to be comfortable with the buyer or seller, you're able to, as a buyer, if you're able to, make the seller comfortable, know that, that you're not trying to screw them over, and that you're able to close quickly, you can definitely get discounts compared to, what other valuations might be. I think that's the trade-off. It's like you can offer speed and ease, which there's value to, and in exchange, you can pick some things up at lower than what some other people would maybe value them.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we do. This is our strategy as well at M&A. And like any private equity firm out there, they have capital, they have cash, so they can go and do deals quickly. And that's the advantage of just being able to come up to the seller and say, we know what we are doing, we have cash, we'll do the deal quickly, but we can we want to get slightly better price. And that makes sense for both sides.
Yeah, and also, I mean, as I know you're well aware, there are motivated sellers. And sometimes people need the money for whatever reason, or they just want to get out of the business. And like, it's one thing that I think a lot of people, when they think about doing deals or buying and selling a business, it's like you just kind of assume that the seller always wants the highest price possible. And one thing that I've learned is that that's really not always the case. I mean, price is obviously a factor, but there's so many different situations and other things that people value, when doing a deal, when selling your business, that price is obviously an important one, but it's not the only one. And if you can provide other things that they care about, for example, like we talked about, speed, ease, that you're going to be a good steward of the business that they've built. And I mean, in my case, when it comes to, partnerships, knowing that all right, I'm here to help and going to add value, and whatever the valuation that we agree on that I get involved with, we're only doing this because we both see how this is gonna, accelerate from here. So of course price is important, but it's not the only factor.
Yeah, absolutely. We had quite a few cases where our offer was not the highest, but the seller came back to us and told us that they are ready to do it with us because they know that we will be able to do it quickly and efficiently. And these days there are so many buyers at every price level that are just not very professional. They will send you they will ask for some details and they never follow up. Or they follow up and give you an offer and then they disappear. Or then they take half a year to do their due diligence. And that happens all the time. Some of them expect to get a loan and then they don't get the loan approved. So then suddenly you realize you just wasted 5 months discussing it.
And potentially, those 5 months, you think it's going to sell, so you take your foot off the gas a little bit, and now the business has gone down. And this is one of the things that, you mentioned it. I mean, brokers there's some really good ones, but it's tricky. There's, I know, a very real thing called, deal fatigue, where something like this happens, then all of a sudden, the original agreed upon amount was X, and then for whatever reasons, intentional or not, things drag on, and all of a sudden it's 5-6 months later, and as a seller, you're kind of worn out, and so you're willing to accept, you're willing to and do accept a lower offer. And I mean, and again, there's a lot of factors that can contribute to this, but yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why, as a seller, you want to be as on top of your business, before you engage with a broker, so that things don't stretch on and things don't, you can minimize deal fatigue by being prepared before you list with a broker. So that there's not going to be all these messes that you need to get sorted and this and that, and you can come with something that has a better chance of being sold quickly, as opposed to dragging on and other, problems coming up and then, eventually leading to a lower sale.
Yeah, makes sense. So let's jump around a little bit. And I know that you do a lot of yoga. How long have you been doing yoga, and how did you manage to get such a big following on Instagram for your yoga pictures?
Well, thank you. I guess it's all relative. I guess I started doing yoga in Vietnam maybe it's 5 or 6 years ago. And I'm also, the kind of person I'm quite disciplined in certain areas of my life when it comes to my health. Certainly one of them. And so yoga was something that I always enjoyed being active and like exercising, and yoga was something when I started that it was really hard. I'm naturally not the most flexible kind of person, and so it was hard for me. And I remember doing some of these first classes, and it was really challenging. I was struggling, but I loved it. And yoga has been something that fast forward 5 or so years, and I've just consistency, and you keep going and you keep going and you start improving. And yeah, that's one of the most amazing and beautiful lessons from yoga that is, so applicable to so many things in life. It's just like, there's no end goal. There's no making it. There's no finish line. It's just something that you keep on working and you keep improving. And there's always something new, that you want to work on and you want to improve. And, I'd say now, 5 years into it, like, I've certainly improved a lot. There are certainly still a lot of areas that I'm still working on. And yeah, just like, life or business, speaking from having, sold a business, and, I used to have some, net worth goals or income targets, and as I'm sure, you have and many people have, and it's like, you move forward, you make progress, you achieve some goals, but like there's still other goals, and yeah, just kind of like continuing to work, continuing to improve, kind of keep showing up and doing the work, and with the goal of just making progress. And so yeah, yoga's been a great, has become a pretty big part of my life. And
how often do you train now?
So health is pretty big part of my life. In Chiang Mai especially, doing yoga probably 5 days a week. Recently gotten an hour. Well, in Chiang Mai, it's a lot actually, because a lot of the studios here, and one of the reasons why I like Chiang Mai is, the level of yoga. From my experience doing yoga literally all over the world, like in Asia, on average, the quality or the average random participant is higher in my experience than like America or places in Europe. And yeah, not only is the quality of other people high, but the classes are long. So in Chiang Mai, they'll be like an hour and a half. This morning was an hour and a half class. Yesterday it was closer to 2 hours. And so they're long, whereas in America it'll be like 60 minutes. But yeah, so it's a lot of yoga. Also, like, biking's been something I've gotten really into that really helps me clear my mind and sort through ideas, and yeah, I've really been enjoying like the gotten into cardio a lot the last year. But yeah, but all these things I think like contribute, and it allows me, you got to have that foundation of health, at least for me. Like, in order for me to be effective at any work, like I need to be on top of my health and feel good and think good, and also exercise for me a lot of times really helps me like clear my thoughts. Like, I'll have a busy day at work, and then I'll shut the laptop and go for a bike ride, and a lot of these things that I was kind of struggling with or trying to figure out, like 30 minutes, I'll kind of like put on music or put on a podcast, I'll forget about it, and then 30 minutes into the ride, all of a sudden like everything comes together and the ideas connect, and like, just able to kind of get better clarity from, taking a step back.
Yeah, I think it's really important to just pay attention to your health, because it's such an important area of your life. I see so many entrepreneurs that build successful businesses and they just completely neglect health, and then they realize it and they have to spend all that time and all that money on it. Later in life.
Well, that's something that like I'm really honestly very curious about, because we're hanging out here in Thailand. A lot of the entrepreneurs in the communities abroad, I think, generally pretty healthy, and and I've been spending more time in America the last few years, which has been interesting, and kind of getting exposed to like different kinds of entrepreneurs, like you were saying, that like don't really have balance in their life, and neglect their health and neglect other things. And yeah, I guess it's interesting, because I think in our communities abroad, balance is like more a part of people's lives here, but also recognize that like it's not common or normal.
Yeah, it's more common among entrepreneurs that travel, that live abroad, that are expats, I think.
Yeah, I think it's probably like a lot of if you're an entrepreneur and an expat or living abroad or traveling, like you're as unconventional as entrepreneurship is in general, even more unconventional being that you're, traveling or, living abroad. And so yeah, I think some of the even like, common like entrepreneurship, tropes around, working all the time and not having balance, like a lot of the communities abroad, have balance.
Yeah, but yoga is tough. I remember my first few lessons. It was such a humbling experience. I'm in pretty good shape overall, and so I exercise maybe 3-5 times a week, and I went to a few classes. And I was like 5 or 10 minutes into it, and I was just completely sweating and just tired, and I had to rest a little bit. And everyone is just warming up.
Yeah, I think, use the right word, humbling. And yeah, that's definitely been, my experience, even as I've, improved, and it's, very humbling when I think that whenever I think I'm like, good or getting on top of stuff, and then there'll be some, tiny Thai woman who's like, 10 years older than me, half my size, and is like rocking handstands better than I can do, and it's just like, all right, well, I guess I'm not that great, which is, whenever I catch myself thinking that I am great, it's like something's around the corner. And so yeah, I think a good lesson to just be humble in general. And yeah, yoga is certainly one of the things that is a good teacher of that.
So how has yoga helped you in life in general? Have you recommended it to anyone? Have you had any of your friends pick up yoga for you?
Yeah, a ton of people. I've brought a ton of people with me over the years, and yeah, I guess like yoga. I guess like the biggest lesson from that has been kind of what we were talking about earlier, of just like the journey is the destination. There is no end point. There is no making it, and just like in yoga, like, yeah, I make progress, improve on different things, but there's still like, whenever I, achieve something that opens up 3 new things of, that I understand now of how I want to improve. And like, same with business and life. It's like, there is no destination. There is no, end. It's just like, showing up and continuing to improve, and you always, you want to make progress, and achieve certain things, but yeah, it's more about, it's the journey is the destination, and you want to keep making progress and keep improving, but there is no like finish line. And so yeah, that's probably been one of the biggest lessons from yoga that's just, I think, applicable to so many things in life.
That's a great approach to life. So to jump around a little bit and go back to business. And so after you sold that first business, you probably took some time to relax, to travel, and then got back and decided to go and buy some businesses. So tell us about like the first deal and the second deal. How did that go?
Yeah. So after I sold the business was in the spring of 2017. And that summer there was a lot, I intentionally kind of took a step back and was trying to think and what do I want to do. And I was traveling a lot in Europe, attending different events. And it was after one event that I attended in Lithuania that really gave me the confidence to like pursue something as an investor. And I remember after that is when I really kind of dove in. It was like after that event, I was like, all right, I don't know what or how, but like I want to get involved. I want to buy a business. And that was really kind of what has become this rabbit hole of diving in where, okay, great, you want to buy a business, what kind of business, where are you going to find it, what are you looking for, and like the first things that I started to do, and I think like a lot of people that want to buy a business, is you look at brokers. So first,
what's available.
Yeah. You see what's available, look at a lot of prospectuses, like we kind of started to build my network of, business brokers and just like learning about what deals are available and just kind of starting to, keep my eyes open and looking. And one thing that, did that for a couple of months. And, one thing that I realized was that I was looking for, like a better than market value deal, and that the deals that you find overwhelmingly that are, packaged for sale are going to be, market price. And, that can be fine, but I realized, what I was looking for was I wanted, like, I didn't have enough money to get in. I was looking for outsized returns. And in order to get that, I was looking for better than average deals. And so then it was like, okay, great. Well, I'm not going to get a deal from a broker. Like, where am I going to get a deal? How am I going to find a deal? Yeah. And that's what kind of started me on this, what has also become a journey of, putting myself out there more and sharing my story and thinking like, okay, if I wanted to, if I was going to find an opportunity, like, I had to be the one that found it. It wasn't going to come nicely packaged. Like, I had to go out there and figure it out. And so, that kind of then started, trying to like, share more about my story, go on more podcasts, and kind of see what I thought was going to happen actually was that I would go on podcasts, start talking about that I was looking for deals to buy, and like, all of a sudden my inbox would be flooded with, all these great deals. That's actually not at all what happened. One thing I've learned is that I think every time someone's told me that they have a great opportunity for me, it's not a great opportunity. Most people, when you say, oh yeah, like I'm an investor, I'm trying to buy or invest, like, oh yeah, I got a great deal.
Yeah, that's how you know it's not a great deal. It's right. Start if I get a great deal.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one thing, and I mean, maybe it got a very few, if any, kind of random people that reached out to me where I thought, all of a sudden I'm getting, because I always knew it was a numbers game. Like, okay, well, I don't know what the stats are these days, but it's like, you look at 100 businesses and you buy one of them or something. So I'm like, all right, I gotta get 30 deals a week that are coming through to find one is what I thought. And then in reality, wasn't really getting many people, if any, random people reaching out. But what I did learn and did realize is that where there was more of an impact of me putting myself out there, sharing my story, was more like within the network that I already had and people that I already knew. And yeah, there was some quote that I heard sort of recently that was saying like your first or next, $1 million opportunity, like you've already met that person. And in my case, that's, what became true. The first deal that I ended up doing was with someone else who I knew, this guy Brent, who had done some freelance work or consulting for my previous e-commerce business. So, we knew each other a little bit from the community. I hired him as a consultant, so I knew, sort of how, about his work and the quality of his work. And yeah, just sort of like, I don't remember how it even, how the conversation really, started, but like at some point kind of, we must have been chatting about something, and it was just like, oh, well, like you've got a business that like, I'm familiar with, I know the space, I know you've done good work, like, oh, well, like maybe this is an opportunity. And yeah, so I think, floated the idea, and long story short, he was also interested. And fast forward, that became the first deal that I invested and partnered with. Did some stuff well, other stuff, learned about, other stuff in the learning experience. And yeah, that was the first one that was I guess, almost 2 years ago. And overall, going really well. The business, I think, in terms of revenue from when I got involved is like tripled or, even quadrupled. And it's like, it's on an upswing. And yeah, I think that was really a great first deal and partnership for, it's working out well for everyone. But yeah, for me, like I was saying, I love hiring, I love delegating. I've always been pretty good and comfortable, like building out organizational structures, and with my businesses, like, understanding my role as business owner, and kind of, elevating from self-employed or freelancer or whatever. And that's really where Brent he was basically a freelancer at that time, had like maybe a VA or two that he was working with, but he was doing the majority of the work. And yeah, that was stuff that I knew I had good experience with and was confident that I could help him to, transition and transform into like an actual business and him to elevate as a business owner. And, fast forward 2 years, and like now I think the team's like 12 people or something. There's a GM, there's account managers, and, Brent is like, his role in the business as, he's almost entirely unplugged from, he'll jump in, I think, as needed, from time to time in terms of like doing the actual work. But overwhelmingly, his role is now, being a leader, and he does a bunch of speaking and high-level strategy, and yeah, the business has been going really well, and yeah.
So the revenue quadrupled, but before that, he was just alone, maybe had a few people, and now there's 12 people. So is it still profitable? Like, is the profit still good?
Really good question, and yeah, that was one of the things that I've learned from that. So the short answer is yes, profit has also grown, probably
double.
Yeah, ish. But yeah, it actually, like, there was a pretty long ramp up period because, like, I got involved, so we first partnered up, and whatever revenue or, profit was. And then, again, one of the things that I thought I could help with and I could help with was like getting Brent removed from the actual fulfillment. Getting Brent removed from the fulfillment, that other people are doing fulfillment, which comes with additional costs. And so, like, the first year of the business, actually, or after I was involved, the first year, the structure of the business really transformed, and Brent's role really transformed. Revenue had grown, but profit was pretty much stagnant. And this was because, again, the business was growing, but expenses were growing. And so it really wasn't until the second year that the business, the kind of growth started to pick up, as well as, we already like had invested in getting some of that infrastructure in place the first year. So then when it was growing, the profit was growing.
Yeah, so that's usually a process that happens once you start scaling the business. It might take some time that the profits go down, and you have to hire people, you have to design systems, and you have to wait a little bit until you get to a point that the profits picks up and the business grows. So what's next in that business? Are you planning to sell it at some point, to just keep growing it more?
No plans to sell, although that business, now versus a couple of years ago, like it could be sold. There's a team, there's people that fulfill the work. It's not, Brent plays a really important role, but like, whereas before he was doing all the work, now the role's different, but honestly, the approach to businesses and all the businesses that I'm involved with now, the goal is, long-term, stable, profitable, and at least for now, like cash flow. Yeah, cash flow. Like this business, we've done, like, it's, transformed and grown so much over the last 2 years, and now it's at a place where, it's at a pretty exciting spot. It's growing. There's, I think the hardest part is like, getting a business to say $1 million, to get to $1 million business, that first, getting from 0 to $1 million, I think is much harder than going from 1 to 2 million. And, that business, we're approaching that $1 million mark. And so like now it becomes a platform, and like all these other, we're finding more and more different opportunities, to continue the business as it is, but, potentially can spin off other types of businesses or, other offerings. And it's like, we've got this, pretty, stable and growing base of, clients, and we do our work and they're happy with this. But yeah, what I'm personally most excited about is I think that, I think that it can, keep growing, and it's really, the business is just getting started. And like, it's also, I'm long on the business, and it's, it's a service business, so it's not, it's less like high growth. It's more slow and steady. But it's like, I'm confident, where we are now. We're at a pretty good spot. In 3 months from now, I think we'll be in a better spot. 3 months from then, I think it'll, it's on a pretty good trajectory. And so, for now, the plan is, keep growing it, see what opportunities it can lead to. And who knows down the road? I'm not going to rule out selling, but for now, it's, continue to grow it, and, it's profitable, and do more of that.
It sounds like it worked out well, but it seems that you had to work a lot on it. It seems like you built a team, you organize things, you organize processes. Like, do you spend a lot of time every week on it now?
Good question, and I see how it could sound like that. The business has transformed. My role has and remains pretty, I guess what I'm finding is like my, ideal and my sweet spot. We get on calls. It ends up being probably, 2 times a month, 3 times a month. We had a call yesterday. We message, I don't know, most days or something, but a lot of it's just like sharing, like little stuff, this or that. And also I've got to say that like I genuinely enjoy my role. Like, I enjoy the calls, I like thinking of ideas, I like, making connections. And actually some of the work that was done to transition the business in that kind of first step from like Brent as a freelancer to Brent as a business owner, there was actually someone on my team that also was good with, experience with hiring, and that I was kind of able to, Brent and I were able to work with, that like I could kind of provide for that business. So, which enabled, that the main thing there was hiring that business's now GM. And so, like, I was able to help and contribute with that from someone on my team, but that wasn't, like, I wasn't the one that was personally going in and, restructuring and, doing all the hiring stuff. But so yeah, my workload's, been pretty consistent with it. And I think, moving forward, I kind of settled into a pretty good rhythm.
Nice. So then you look at new deals like that, what is the usual criteria? First of all, how much of the business would you buy? Like, would you look at buy like half a business or a third? And what is the criteria that you review that?
Yeah, so, the businesses that I'm looking at, now, and so after that one, have done 2 other deals that are more or less similar to that. One deal that was quite different, that is by far doing the worst, so I've learned. But yeah, I have done 2 other ones that are, more or less similar. It's a service business, it's profitable, and part of where I think I can add value is, helping it, like getting the infrastructure and team and some of the high level, vision and insight around like how to build this or, where to take this. And so now what I've learned and how I look to structure deals now moving forward is like, as an investor, buying into a portion of cash flow. And so let's just say the business is doing 10 grand a month profit. And so for me, that's what I'm buying into. And so the business could be, it could be doing $1 million in revenue, or it could be doing, $150K in revenue. But like, as an investor, I'm looking for a return on my cash, and like, I'm buying into that cash flow. And so, the bigger the business, I'd say the more stable the cash flow. But if in this instance, if it was $1 million business, it was only had 10% profit, there might be some other problems or issues, which, it's a fake example, but probably needs opportunities to optimize.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm looking at it now, like in the most recent deal that I did over the summer was looking at the buying into the business was valued off of the profit, and that took out then a salary for the owner, the operating expenses plus a salary for the owner, and then in terms of the financial exchange was around the profit that was left over.
Okay.
And so
you put the multiple on the profit that's left after the expense and after the salary, and you're going to discuss a specific salary as well for the owner.
Yeah, exactly, which I think is a much better way of doing it than not taking into consideration the owner's expenses and then also again, the deals that I'm getting involved with, like I am, I have a role that I'm playing and I have value that I'm adding, and so these are deals that, like, they're not just like looking to raise money. It's like, I believe and they believe that I can, contribute to help the business, and so yeah, like then financially, buy into a portion of the profit. And then something else though that I've learned is, kind of even when you do that, like when another person gets involved, and maybe it's just a ramp up period, but like, there's like a dip in, often I think you'll see a dip in profit or like stagnant in profit for a time as you're reinvesting in infrastructure. But I'm cool with that. Like, more money sooner is better, but like, this is a long-term thing, and I'm willing to reinvest for future outcomes. But yeah, so buying into a portion of that. And in terms of like, I want to come in as a minority owner. I've got my own business that I'm personally responsible for. And so as an investor and partner, like, this is still like their majority, and whether that means 51% or 25, if they own 51 or 75, like I'm going to be minority.
So it's like the lowest and the highest you consider if you are.
Well, honestly, I think it really comes down to
25 to 50 in that range, more or less.
I'd say, the current deals, yes, but for me, it's less about, I don't think about it as much of like what percentage is mine, as much as like I'm looking at, the investment in cash flow. And so, let's say a business has, on the high end, $1 million profit. Like I don't have the cash available to get 40% of that, but like maybe I can still add value, and maybe I'm trying to, put $100K or something out of pocket. And so like, I'd be cool. Like, it's more about, it's like, okay, I have this much money that I'm trying to put into something, and it could go into something smaller and I could get a higher percentage. It could go into something bigger and I could get a smaller percentage. But like the return should be, the return on the cash should be similar. And there's different upsides or risks depending on the size, but like, it's like, I'm not necessarily trying to get as big of a piece as possible. It really depends on the business and where the business is at, and like, where I can help. And so yeah, like, I guess in absolute terms though, it needs to be enough to, be interesting to me. So like, 5%
is probably not enough to get you.
If it's 5% of $100 million business, that's fine. But like, you know, it's not like, it's more an absolute of like these businesses, like I want to see a clear path to them cash flowing, you know, 5K plus a month.
Okay, so when you look at that cash flow, how soon do you expect to get your money back in that cash flow? And also do this.
I mean, so a few things that I look at with that. One of them is the way that I like to structure them ideally is less cash. So a few things that I look for is, you know, cash flow. So I want this to be able to cash flow me as soon as possible, minimum 5K a month with also upside. And I also want to minimize my cash out of pocket. And so most of the deals that I've done will involve a portion of a burnout or seller financing or something. And so I'm cool waiting longer to get my cash flow if that means it's less cash out of pocket. If I was doing more cash out of pocket, I would want to see that return come, you know, sooner. But yeah, I mean, each one of these things is kind of like, honestly, I'd rather, if it's a good business, I'd rather get, I'm happy to defer that cash flow if it's a good business, and that means that I have less cash out of pocket. I'm fine deferring my cash flow from that, you know, for however, like if there's a longer earnout or a bigger portion of an earnout, like that's fine with me. If that means I'm minimizing my cash out of pocket and, you know, and it's a good business that is going in a good direction.
Yeah, that makes sense. And in terms of sellers, in terms of partners, do you have some specific criteria? So because you have to have some relationship with them already, probably, so it's better if it's someone that you already do. But a lot of the time people want to like step away from the business a little bit. So have you encountered that? Like, do you make sure that the people that you do deals with, they actually going to keep working on it?
I mean, the ones, I guess, like, the point that I've come in and that seems to be working is like they want to take the business to the next level, and like they've gotten it to a certain point and they want to, you know, keep it growing more and keep pushing things forward. And, you know, I believe, and, you know, they agree that I can, you know, help get it to whatever that next level is, which probably includes them transitioning more from, you know, self-employed and like doing a lot of the work themselves to, like we were talking about with Brent, getting the team and infrastructure in place so they can elevate to be a business owner. I mean, that's something that I'm really confident in my ability to assist with. So like, you know, the perfect deal for me would be a really profitable, probably like, you know, mid-six-figure, really highly profitable, mid-six-figure revenue service business where the owner is currently doing most of the work, and they want to transition to, you know, building out their team, and so move from more self-employed to business owner, and, you know, want help doing that. Like, but, you know, like they found good opportunity already. Like the business is running, they have happy clients, and I guess they see opportunity to grow, but they're limited by their own, you know, time or you know, skill set or team. And like, that's perfect because, again, I'm super confident in my ability to come in and help them get the right people in place that will allow them to take advantage of all the opportunity, and get them to, you know, elevate more into that owner role.
Yeah, so what we've learned over the years is that if making deals is important, to have a framework of what you are doing or what you are looking at. And of course, it's important to be good at due diligence and to make sure that you have a good relationship with the seller. But that framework for us usually comes first. And our framework is that we look at, then we evaluate the deal, we look at the numbers, we look at risks, we look at opportunities, and then we look at the strategy. So every deal we do, every business we buy or partner with, we look at what is going to be our strategy going forward. So sometimes it could be just a quick resale, like doing some things and reset. Other times it could be growing it further, expanding it, adding some more people, some more opportunities. So it sounds like you have a similar framework now, and that framework is looking at people that have like single person or one person with a few freelancers employees business, and then you help them grow it and transition to a more executive role. And then going forward, you want to get cash flow, but do you have a longer term plan?
Well, so I'd say, I mean, in terms of like target business to get involved with now, yes, that's probably fits the criteria as much. That's about the criteria that I'm looking for. But yeah, I mean, in terms of like the future of the vision, I mean, I'm currently like looking to invest and get cash flow from these and income, but I mean, that's also been growing. It's at a much better place now than it was 2 years ago, when that was like originally the investment game was investing in building cash flow. And like, I mean, at a certain point, I'm down for more cash flow, generally speaking. But at a certain point, the strategy very much could shift. And I mean, I'm still like, I've learned a lot, continuing to learn a lot. And like, with this business, investing or selling or buying, like, I'm kind of okay to be slow playing a little bit and like continuing to get experience, building my track record, and also stuff that I've learned with the, like, I can now talk about a couple, positive, track record and case studies, but necessarily those take time. I can talk about the deal with Brent 2 years later and it's in a great place. But at the time, that could have been, the best deal ever when we made it. But you just don't know how, like, time is necessarily a factor. And so now I'm, continuing to build that track record as time goes on, as businesses continue to grow, as I continue to learn, this is a space that I want to continue to be involved with. And I think there's a lot of different exciting directions that things can, that they can grow and expand into. But yeah, like not in a rush at the same time. And I'm still learning, I'm still getting experience and open to and, looking forward to the next deal, whatever that, when that one kind of surfaces or, comes to happen. And then, kind of, taking a thing, one deal and one day at a time.
Yeah, that's great, Nate. I love the approach of learning and just going one step at a time. So many of our listeners are looking to buy possibly their first business, maybe their second business, and some of them are probably considering a similar approach of partnering with the owner, partnering with the seller, and many of them are in those different communities where they know many other entrepreneurs and owners. So what would be your recommendation to someone like that who wants to start considering how they can do the same thing?
Yeah, well, my advice for them would actually be advice that I think you gave me. This was, I think, earlier this year when I was like looking to do another deal, and we were in a Facebook community talking about, I'm looking for this and that, and what you told me and what I tell them is, to look first within your network, and like I said before, whatever the exact quote, but like, whatever that opportunity you're looking for, you probably have already met that person. And so thinking first of, your circle of like who might be a fit. And so that's one. I say, look to your circles. The next is like, you never know unless you ask. So, all of these deals that I've gotten involved with, like, I was the one, they didn't come to me being like, oh, hey, Nate, like, do you want to be an investor? I mean, people have come to me and asked that, but like we were talking about, those have not been the deals that I want to be a part of. But yeah, so these ones, so thinking about who, what type of business you might be interested in. And also, it's as much an investment, at least with my approach, it's as much or more an investment in the person. And so thinking about who individually might be a good fit. And then, yeah, like you got to ask and, bring it up, see if they might be interested, and, start a conversation from there. Say, like, I mean, there's a lot of other stuff to consider, and if you're considering something like this, happy to chat. But yeah, I'd say that's probably like the where to start.
So the main advice is then just ask in your community, and then so the second part, since you've done quite a few deals and you learn a lot from them, how can our listeners avoid some mistakes or just like what is the one thing they can do in that agreement to make sure that things go better?
Yeah, so a few things. The first is like due diligence around their finances. So, I mean, the first step in any acquisition is you gotta look at the numbers. And not just look at the numbers, but you want to make sure that the numbers are verified and correct. In a lot of the deals that I've done, thankfully I've got a really great finance team. And so we've had to come in and like build the P&Ls for them. Because most people, I mean, a lot of businesses don't have that. And so, that'd be the first thing. I mean, I'm targeting a return on my investment, and like necessarily, you need to know the numbers in order to know what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah.
So like that being the first part, and like doing a deal based. I mean, I'm trying to do deals based on the numbers. There's a million and one ways that you can approach things. Me personally, like I want to do it based on the numbers, and so that's the first part, making sure the numbers are there and verifying them, and yeah, I think like taking into account the salary for the person that's going to be running it is one lesson, and yeah, I mean, I think like I guess like this Warren Buffett quote, it's like if you have like a punch card with 10 slots to represent the 10 deals you could do in your life, like it's like a quality not quantity thing. And for me, there was a deal that it got pretty far into the process, and there were points where I thought it was going to move forward and ended up not. And I'm really glad that it didn't. I mean, he's a great guy, and maybe it could have worked out, but it's just like, wait for the right pitch. So it's kind of like the balance of moving things forward, but waiting for that right opportunity. I mean, I guess I've been fortunate, and so far 3 out of the 4, deals that I've been a part of are going well, and have learned a lot from the one. And I mean, everything considered, the 4th one's doing okay. I mean, it hasn't gone to 0, but yeah, it also, like, I didn't really follow some of my own criteria or advice, and it looked like a really good opportunity at the time, and we had to jump on it quickly, and we did. And yeah, it has been, and continues to be a big learning experience. It hasn't gone bankrupt yet. And I mean, hopefully it won't, but yeah, like waiting for the right, getting on top of the numbers, knowing what you're looking for, and like waiting for the right opportunity. Like this isn't something that you want to rush into. I mean, financially, as well as like, if you're, taking an approach that I am, like, you're becoming business partners with this person. And so it's like your relationship is just getting started once you make the agreement. And so like, is this a person that you want to be in business with now, next year, the following year? And like, if you have some, reservations, or the deal that ended up not moving forward, this was, I don't know, at the beginning of the summer or something, like towards the end, when, like, we were close. We had like a term sheet that we both verbally agreed on. It was like, all right, like, let's sign this and do it. And like, I was like waking up like around these days, like I had this like weird feeling in my stomach. It was giving me anxiety. And I was like, talking to some friends with like it should not, if I feel that way now, like I'm not trying to gamble on something like that. This was like, it would have been a big financial, commitment and opportunity as well. But like, if you've got some doubts or second thoughts, like, don't rush moving forward, wait for the right pitch. And I'm certainly glad that I did. And fast forward a couple months later, like the next deal that I did end up becoming a partner and moving forward with, like such a better opportunity, such a better fit in like every way. And so, if I would have moved forward with that one that I was iffy with, I don't know what direction it would have gone. I don't know if I would have, been able to take advantage of the deal that I did, which is so far, and in my opinion, like a much better fit for me. So yeah, a lot of stuff to consider. Wait for the right pitch.
So yeah, I like that. So deals are between people, but it always starts and ends with numbers. So you have to know the numbers well and pay attention to the gut feeling, right? That's probably what the other helps do.
Yeah, being aware of it and tuning for your intuition.
Right. So what are some services or products that you offer, that your company offers, that our listeners might be interested in?
Yeah, so as I've gotten more experience with this, buying and selling and what I've learned is important to me to look at in deals. I really like, so now with Sellerflex, we, on the sell side, help businesses prepare for and maximize for their exit. And like we've been talking about, the core piece of that is going to be getting on top of the numbers so that when you want to sell, you're on top of these things. You don't have to like go back and redo 2 years of books in order to finally list and get a lower price than you thought you were going to get because you didn't do accounting correctly. And then, so that's on the sell side, and on the buy side, it's similar types of due diligence services. Going through, like, my team's really good at cleaning up messes, and like we're fine with messes because we understand how important it is to get these things cleared up in order to be able to make clear, financially founded decisions. And so on the buy side, can help people that are looking at deals, doing due diligence on the numbers, as well as just kind of chatting. I love talking about this stuff. I've got some experience myself, and if that can be useful, would be happy to chat.
So how can people contact you or find you?
Yeah, so my company is sellerflex.com, and you can email me, nate@sellerflex.com, if you want to see combination of business and yoga pictures on my Instagram. That's at Nate Ginsburg. And just generally, like, I love the space. I think it's so interesting. And if you're involved in doing similar stuff and want to connect, I would love to. Always looking for new opportunities and find more win-wins that we can pursue. So yeah, say hi.
Oh, thank you. We'll add all those details in the show notes. So thank you for sharing your story today, and good luck with your future deals.
Thanks for having me. It was fun chatting.
Domain Magnet is a leader in buying and selling online businesses with a proven track record of expertise gained from over 300 deals since 2004. To learn more about how we can help you acquire or exit a profitable online business today, head over to domainmagnet.com for more details.